Do you think you've done your bit well? I ask because Jean-Claude Juncker, President of the European Parliament, made comments earlier this week. He was talking about a Polish man who was attacked. He was murdered in Essex, and it's been put down to a lot of the hate that has been generated post-EU, the Brexit vote. Do you feel partly responsible for that?
No, I don't. And I mean, look, what Mr. Juncker should be apologising for are 14 terrorist attacks that took place across Europe last year, many of them committed by people who'd been let in through his open door policy.
And how well I remember that news report, and I remember people picking up off the back of it, believing it to be true. Well, I can tell you that this has all come to court, and actually, in many ways, it was the other way around. Yes, there were a group of young youths hanging about in a shopping centre in Harlow, but they were confronted by a couple of Polish fellas who clearly had had too much to drink. Indeed, the Defence Council made the point that the racist remarks were made to the British youths and invited violence from those youngsters. So a 15-year-old boy punched the Polish man, Mr. Joswick, who unfortunately fell down on the ground, cracked his head and died. And I have to say that since this judgment last Friday, and despite the fact that many have written in to the BBC demanding that something is done, all they have done is put up 280 words on their BBC Essex website just to talk about the judgment of the court. And frankly, I am disgusted with this. What the BBC did was actually to directly promote hatred, division, not just within our communities, but directly against me. And frankly, this isn't good enough. I demand an apology from the journalist who cooked up this story, who egged on the witness in the way that he did, and I should be writing to Lord Hall, the Director General of the BBC, demanding an apology. It is outrageous that we all pay this money, we're forced to, or we go to prison, for an organisation that pretends to be a neutral broadcaster and in reality is anything but. You know, Channel 4, who perhaps have a reputation for being on the left of centre, Channel 4 did a report from Harlow where they said this wasn't about race hate, it was about gang violence and about bad behaviour and the police losing control on the streets. I don't often get on my high horse like this, but I think, for it to be put out there that I have blood on my hands, for me to be subjected continually to threats and violence and have to surround myself in security to even go out in London and buy a newspaper, and it's all caused by journalism like this. And you know what? I've pretty much had my